All right, episode 1. Here we go. So how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Feeling fresh.
Yeah, drinking some IPA.
Yep.
What are you drinking?
Voodoo Ranger, New Belgium.
Any good?
Oh yeah.
All right. They're very, very hoppy.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Excellent. 'Cause, I hate that shit.
Oh, really?
No, I prefer my whiskey.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. So let's begin here. So what's coming up is the November 4th revolution, the Antifa revolution. You've heard of this, right? Have you looked into it? Okay. So what's your speculation? What do you think's going to happen?
You know, knowing them, it might not be more than just a few riots here and there. My concern is the use of explosive devices in some of their riots in order to gain attention.
Okay. I mean, I can see that out of Berkeley. I know, like, in the 1960s with, like, the Weather Underground and stuff like that, that was part of their MO was to blow shit up, blow people up and stuff like that. Personally, I see basically something akin to, I guess, the Occupy movement. And the reason why I say that is I found this. Where is it? So I found this spreadsheet. Well, not this spreadsheet. I found this PDF, actually, off from refusefascism.org, which is, oddly enough, I did some research on it. If you look at this website, refusefascism.org, you will find a website that is like really, really, really well put together, like a very professional website. And if you look into who donated to create this, guess who it was?
Who?
George Soros.
Really?
Yeah, $50,000. Donated $50,000 to this organization to put it together, and it's got all types of street material stuff to like post on like signs and banners and like the big giant freaking banners that people like will walk in front of. They'll hold and they'll walk, and yeah, I'm trying to think what the hell it is, but anyways, so like they have a PDF here that says on November 4th, 2017, take to the streets and public squares in cities and towns across the country, continuing day after day and night after night, not stopping until our demand is met. The nightmare must end. The Trump-Pence regime must go. So what they have basically is a set of grievances on this PDF, on this sheet that you would post to a post board or something like that at a university. So it says, a nightmare. Immigrants living in terror. Their next step could mean detention, deportation, being torn from children and loved ones. A nightmare. Muslims and refugees demonized, banned, and cast out. A nightmare. Millions of children and elderly, the sick, the poor, denied health care, food assistance, the very right to live. Women objectified, degraded, denied the basic right to control their own reproduction with fundamentalist Christian fascism increasingly being made into law. LGBT people stigmatized, ostracized, and denied civil rights. Black and Latino people openly threatened by the president with maximum sentencing, stop and frisk going national, intensified police brutality and murder of our youth holds no bar. People all over the world facing bombings, occupations, war, and the threat of nuclear war with Donald Trump. America first, finger on the nuclear trigger. Now, I kind of believe a little bit. But anyways, we can come to that later. The nightmare. Truth bludgeoning, lies and more lies, critical thinking destroyed in education and public discourse. The whole planet in peril. The whole fucking planet. In peril from a regime that denies global warming and shreds all environmental protections. A regime step by step discarding basic democratic rights. Yeah, that's coming from Antifa, okay. targeting groups after group and suppressing dissent and resistance. Are you fucking kidding me? A regime unleashing the violence of fascist thugs. Yeah, because there's been a lot of fucking violence from the people. This fascism, a qualitative change in how society is governed. History has shown that fascism must be stopped before it's too late. So this is the tenets of this fucking revolution. So what I think is actually, this really looks like an organized Occupy movement and not much more. Like, I can see maybe some violence occurring, but like, from looking at this and looking at the website and looking at where the money is coming from, it really looks like it's like, the more I look into this, the more I see like, this is kind of bullshit. Like, this is more like just this passive Occupy movement that I used to be a part of. Like
Occupy Wall Street.
Occupy Wall Street. Yeah, like, I was totally down with that before, like, Black Bloc and fucking Antifa and like all the, you know, the predecessors became that. Like, I was actually one of the founding members of the Austin, basically Occupy movement. Like, I was like one of 4 people that showed up on the day that we decided that to make it. I see the exact same shit going on here, except with the Occupy movement, it was a lot of libertarians that first came in, but this is more leftist. I mean, this is definitely a lot more leftist. So, like, in the Mao regime, one of the things that they did is that they occupied locations like universities and public squares and things like that to try to get their way, to try to push this cultural movement. And I see the same bullshit happening here. They might go out, they might block roads, they might, you know, tear down more statues and stuff like that. But like, I don't necessarily envision like the civil war that we all hope for. I feel like a lot of people are looking forward to it just coming to a point where it's like, fuck it, let's just get it done with, let's get it over with. Like, it's to that fucking point. And I think a lot of that has to come down to like this big cultural paradigm. Like, you see it, right? You see the cultural paradigm that's happening. Like, that massive shift towards from liberalism to the point where, like, you know, like, it's okay to cut off your balls. It's okay to cut off your vagina.
Radical liberalism.
Radical liberalism. The paradigm is shifting. And that's something that, like, I told my wife. I was like, dude, it's shifting. It's happening. Like, I told her 2 years ago, I was like, you can see it online. You can fucking see it. Like, it is coming. It is happening. And then, like, with Trump becoming president, I was like, that's it. It's totally happening now. Like, the right is finally coming to a point where it's becoming a cultural norm. You can see it. You can definitely see it online. You know, with things like this. Like I don't think it would be okay to like create a podcast like this. Like, it's okay. Like, it's becoming okay to become race aware, right? Mm-hmm. It's becoming okay to finally stand up and say, you know what, I'm a white dude and like, I deserve some respect. Like, I'm not somebody that needs to be put down because I'm white. I'm not the enemy. Like, sure, in the past I might have done some shit, like, collectively as a European kind of demographic. But like, if you look at so much more, like, if you look at just the history of conquest, like, that is normal. I mean, that's normal. I mean, that happens throughout every demographic, you know, subspecies or race or anything like that. So like, to blame white men only is fucking ridiculous. And I think it's becoming, like, people are becoming woke. They're becoming woke to the matter. And
well, I mean,
yeah,
every white person gets called a racist nowadays. You know, it holds no value, but it kept getting used over and over again. I feel that's part of it, you know. Yeah. I heard a story recently where some guy on the bus, you know, some black guy went up to a white homeless person.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, and he you know, he started, you know, beating him up, and he said something along the lines of, "You owe us for enslaving my grandmother."
Yeah.
I was like, you can't do that. You know, we're trying to progress as a society, And whenever you keep bringing that stuff up, we can't continue. And it's like liberalism was progressing at a steady rate, and then somewhere along the lines, we just dropped off a cliff.
It was really within the last couple of years. Like, I would say probably like the Occupy movement was about the time where shit got weird. Like, it was about the point where, because I consider myself like a liberal, like a classical liberal. After that point, things started going downhill, and like this kind of way, like, yeah, I kind of agree with it, but like that's fucking weird. Like, I've always really found myself like as a race realist, like even when I was in school, I asked the teacher, we were talking about evolution, and I was like, you know, does skin color correlate with where we live on the planet? You know, does melanin is a result of environmental factors? And I was labeled a racist back then. And like, if you look into it, yeah, absolutely. Like, it's totally, you know, determined upon environmental factors, how close you live to the fucking equator, and in other, you know, breeding techniques and all that other kind of stuff. And so I've always known that, but since that point, since Occupy, it's just gone to this bizarre level of radicalism. And, you know, like I was saying before, like, it's okay to cut your genitals off. It's okay for like a 12-year-old to say that they're not a man, they're not a woman, they're not a boy, they're not a girl. Like, I can't imagine that for my daughter. Like, I couldn't fucking imagine it. Like, she actually said the other day, she's like, I'm a boy. I was like, no, boys have penises and girls have vaginas. I'm sorry to tell you that. And she accepted it. Like, she got it. She understood it. And like, and that's the weird part too. And that's why I think, you know, transgenderism is basically a mental disorder, because like, to get beyond that, to get beyond gender and to say that you're not this, but you're this, is literally, you have to do some fucking crazy mental gymnastics. And yeah, anyway, so that's why I'm no longer like that. Like, the paradigm shift has clicked in, and I definitely consider myself alt-right because of that, because of the race realism, and basically because of the policies, because of what has happened over in Europe, and basically the decline and this massive attack on white people. You know, as a somewhat classical liberal, it's not to say that I like. You're gonna say something?
I was gonna ask, do you feel that you're forced into it, or that you feel that you're kind of slowly, that you're going all right?
I'm woke.
Yeah.
I'm woke as fuck.
But do you feel that you're woke because you see these things going on, and you feel that it's necessary in order to keep our way of life? You know, like in the long run, if you see ourselves in 20 years.
Yeah, I do. And that's one of the things, is that, you know, the more I look at it, I'm like, oh my God, you know, Western, like, Europe itself is fucking destroyed. Like, yes, there is a cultural paradigm shift, but how far? Like, I don't think it's going to get to a point where they're going to be like, hey, you know what? Fuck all these Muslims and we're going to kick them all out. Like, I don't think it's going to get to that point. So I really think that the United States is the last bastion of hope. It's the last bastion of old European descent. And so as a result, like my wife and I are going to start going to church, and we're going to start taking our kids to church and stuff like that. And I was always a part of the New Atheist movement, and I still kind of hold that to some degree. But like, I need to instill that into my kids. I need, you know, it's not like I'm trying to brainwash them or anything like that, but I'm trying to give them the culture of the West. Like, I need to give them a barrier to protect themselves from the sickness that is basically that has become liberalism. And Christianity is a part of that. Like, it's a part of that culture. It's a barrier. So, yeah.
Yeah,
what's your thoughts?
Thomas Jefferson actually, he was never a religious person, but he actually read the Bible just for morals and ethics.
Yeah, he did.
And so I feel that, going to church is okay, even if you're not a religious person. If anything, it's just to instill, part of our way of life, because that's how we've always been. Liberalism isn't such a bad thing, providing that it's taken in steps. There's even denominations of Christianity that are liberal, but they understand that you can't just go off the end and expect good things to happen.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, I totally agree with that, and I totally follow that, because that's where it's come. I mean, if I feel like it's hard going from one extreme to the other extreme, right? You can't, like, it's hard for people, like, it happens, but it's hard for people to go from, like, atheism to Christianity to believing in a deity. And I might get to that point, but it's going to take time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's going to take, I wouldn't necessarily say evidence, but at least something. Like, I need to feel something inside. Like, people say that they feel the Holy Spirit or something like that. Right now I feel empty, and it's kind of sad, but like, I would love to feel that. Like, I would love to feel that warm, like, not necessarily cuddle, but that nice cuddle.
Okay.
But yeah, anyway, so actually, so talking about the alt-right, I found there's this YouTuber that I found online. His name is Way of the World. That's what he goes by. And he came up with 12 signs of the alt-right. So basically, it's basically signifying, are you an alt-right person? And if you are, then you basically follow this quote-unquote manifesto. So this is what he says. So number 1, you look at multicultural decline of the West and feel cheated, but have decided to resist and not surrender. You realize an unconditional love for your people, but you understand that some will never understand what you're fighting for. You are repulsed by most popular culture. Obviously, I've had a little too much to drink. Popular culture, but find great works of Western art that speak to you personally. You see that diversity is a weakness, not a strength, but makes you realize how great European civilization is. You lose old friendships, but make new ones with more meaning. You find little interest in material things, but discover superior values like love for race, nation, tradition, and family. You know about ethnic crime and IQ statistics, but realize that identity is so much deeper and more precious than statistics. You see European women in mixed race relationships, and it makes you feel angry and sad, but teaches you how precious your women are. And you are surprised by how quickly your views are hardening, but you also are surprised by how little that bothers you. 10. You feel a duty to your ancestors and future generations, but you know they are pleased with you. You are prepared to do whatever it takes to save the West, but feel privileged to save your own people. And number 12. You start to believe in victory and understand it must be earned. Do you think that's an adequate representation of the alt-right, or do you think it's more that it needs to be expanded upon?
I'm not saying it's wrong or anything, but I feel like some of it, like a duty to heritage.
Mm-hmm.
I can understand, identifying where you come from, but remember that the United States, at least as far as the United States go, it's really still a young country. It spans back, late 1700s, well, early 1700s if you consider, colonial periods.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like before it actually became a country itself, the cultural shift is basically what it was. It was a fucking cultural shift. Yeah.
I have a hard time grasping, especially a lot of people who are immigrants themselves, in my case, I really don't know much about past my grandfather. So, the the idea of a heritage doesn't really click with me.
Yeah.
And it's small stuff like that.
I think what he was referring to mostly was the way that I look at it is like philosophy, right? So like cultural art, the Louvre, other things, Aristotle, like the whole Western culture as a whole, what built it up. That's the type of heritage that I feel is what he might be talking about. Or maybe this came from somebody else and he's just rehashing him. But I look at it as basically a philosophical.
So, number 11 mentioned, you are prepared to do whatever it takes to save the West, but feel privileged to save your people. But I don't quite understand. How is it that we're privileged? We helped build this society up.
I don't know. I guess the way that I would look at it is basically it's Western civilization. Because Western civilization created the first world. If you look at basically all other cultures, they're either derived from us or they are us. So I think that's the privilege that he's talking about.
Is this perhaps spanning back since like the British colonies from around the world, or is it something different?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. Like, it's all encompassing. Like, if you look at, like, I'm not gonna like discount. We had slaves and we like destroyed the Native American population and shit like that, which were fucking killing each other at the time. Anyways, but it's all encompassing. Like, the pride that I feel, the privilege that I feel, is pushing towards. Is taking that Western value, that Western culture, that basically we are better because we have created a society that is obviously better. Like, it's so hard. Like, can you literally argue with me and say that India is any better than us?
India?
And that India is any better than us? It is a third world country. Like, I hate to say that India sucks. But, like, in terms of us and them shitting in the street, our culture is much different. Our culture is much better than that.
Right.
It's the same thing. Like, if you were to look at, like, Somalia, like, Western culture, civilization versus, like, Muslim culture and civilization, we're fucking better. Like, that's basically the heritage I think you're talking about.
Okay.
So,
okay.
At least that's what I feel.
I don't know, and it makes sense. Yeah, I don't see a problem with that.
Yeah. Okay. So that's pretty much what I got. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Not as far as this is concerned.
Not really. Well, what's funny is actually you heard about the shit that's in California, right? The HIV and the proper pronoun stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. So everybody not informed. So now it's legal for so let's say you're a gay individual and you have HIV and you want to fuck somebody in the butt and then you give them AIDS and stuff like that.
Pretty much.
Or let's say you want to go donate blood. Okay, so you go and you have HIV, you go and donate blood, and it's now a misdemeanor. It's no longer a felony. It's no longer considered basically possible homicide. So they brought it down to basically that of a parking ticket fine. It's a $50 fucking fine. And the fucked up thing is if you think about it, if you go and donate blood and you have HIV, there's no fucking way that they're going to be able to test every single batch, right? So, like, there's going to be some dude who has HIV from, like, 3 days ago from getting fucked in the butt that's going to go and donate blood, and they're going to pass that HIV on to somebody else. And then as soon as that blood gets to somebody in fucking Illinois, because California is the biggest donator for blood, that dude who receives that is going to get fucking HIV because it is not a felony. Like, it's like, sure, like the Red Cross is like, don't donate if you have HIV, but there's some dude that's gonna be like, you know what, fuck it, I don't give a shit, because people are fucked up. people are fucked up like that.
Mhm.
And for $50, like if I was some sociopath for $50, I would fucking destroy somebody's life, I guess. So, anyways, so that's the shit that's going on there, which is basically like a laughing stock, I think.
Well, it's kind of funny, you know, because I had cancer at one point,
Uh-huh.
and I'm no longer able to donate just because of that.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm not allowed to donate, you know, either normal blood or white blood cells or bone marrow or anything of that sort. So I'm kind of curious as to how how you test for HIV and how long that takes and everything. But I'm also curious.
Having been in healthcare, it's super fucking expensive to test for that stuff.
Really?
Like, oh yeah, like my former boss works for a laboratory that does testing, that does that type of stuff, and like the test for various types of pathogens. Oh yeah, it's super expensive. So now you're looking at increasing the price of just donating blood. So like they sell that blood off to different freaking, you know, hospitals or however the distribution cycle is. Now you're looking at an increased cost alone just for testing for, you know, HIV on a certain level. So anyways, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. I was pretty much done, but you know, I'm kind of curious as to what sort of policies could be put in place to prevent, you know, because if it gets out of hand, you know, how do you prevent that from happening? Do you just say California is no longer able to donate blood, or what?
No, you can't necessarily discriminate.
Ah, yeah.
Yes, you can't necessarily say this state is degenerate, therefore it can't produce vital material for the rest of the nation. But I guess, you know, that's possible because California is going to vote next year whether or not it's going to secede from the union. So yeah, I know, right? Maybe, hopefully, it'll fucking be gone. But yeah, I don't know. I don't. Yeah. But they also passed the proper pronouns bill, which makes it illegal for somebody to basically say if Z is actually a she or a he.
Transgender, queer.
Fucking ridiculous. Fucking ridiculous. I can't even imagine what kind of mental illness do you have to. I don't fucking see it. I don't understand it.
That's the deep end I'm talking about right there.
Yeah, that is for real. Like, oh my god. So basically, what it points out what was funny is that there was a congressperson or somebody in their in one of the districts that basically said that no one will ever abuse this. Are you fucking kidding me? No one will ever abuse this law. Everyone's gonna abuse this law. Like, it states that if they purposely do it, then it's against the law. What happened to freedom of speech there? What happened? Like, it's not like because you have an X chromosome or a Y chromosome, there's no reason why I should not be able to say that you are a boy or a girl. Like, there's no fucking reason for it. But like, let's say we're in a group full of friends or acquaintances or whatever, or we go out to a bar and we meet some people and there's some fucking transgender person there. Like, I don't think it's hate speech to call this person a dude if it looks like a fucking dude in a wig.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think it's hate speech, but under this law, it can be considered as such. And if that person flagged down a cop and like came to me, then it's possible that I could get fucking fined or even fucking jailed because of it. And I think that's absolute completely fucking bullshit. And I think there's a lot of people out there that would completely and totally agree with that assessment.
Yeah, and to add on to that, you know, a lot of people, you know, now rape is a really horrific thing, you know, period.
I would say so, yeah.
But there have been more and more false rape claims nowadays, and imagine how that could be used if saying, hey, this person keeps calling me certain pronoun when it's not true, and it's like, what do you do about that? You know. So I see how it can easily be abused.
Totally be used, absolutely, because if you look at the feminist narrative where 3/4 of women in college get raped, that is absolute bullshit. Like, when I went to college, I never knew any woman, and I associated myself with as many women as I possibly could, ever claimed to be abused or raped in any sort of fashion or anything like that. I mean, if you're saying that 3/4 of women are sexually molested and raped, that is insane. You're looking at it's fucking astronomical. Like, there's just no fucking way that's possible, and it's totally and this law is totally going to be abused. Absolutely.
Yeah, with the whole Facebook Me Too deal going on.
Wait, what's this?
I don't know if you've seen or not, but ever since what's his name from Hollywood, the Weinstein.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of people, and it's just hashtag Me Too, or people will post Me Too as in they've.
Really?
And there's a lot of people on there. Because I try to have as large a group of friends as possible. From left to right, wing.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will say, yeah, me too.
Like they got, too, as in they got raped.
Exactly. And it's like, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. Definitely not you. So it's I can see it getting a little out of hand simply because people are claiming that, yeah, it happened to me when it obviously did not.
Right.
Or if they did, they are very good at not telling people.
I think the majority of rape cases, of rape claims, are fake. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that may sound like callous and stuff like that, but like, I don't know. Maybe it's coming from a certain level of undegeneracy that I have. But like, I look at least white people as not being those type of people. In terms of like rape statistics and stuff like that, that comes down to mostly black people doing that type of crime. So I don't see that, especially in fucking college. Like, there is none. So you get drunk one night. You get shit-faced drunk, right? You're drinking a bunch of fucking whiskey. You're drinking a bunch of fucking vodka, most likely. You're drinking a bunch of vodka, and you feel great. You're like, oh my God, I feel fucking happy. I'm so great. And then you like fuck some guy, and you're like, next day you're like, oh man, I probably shouldn't have done that. And you're like, I got raped. Mm-hmm. Right? I think that's the majority of the shit that happens. But that's just me.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I'm racist like that.
And you see a lot of things on Twitter too. It's really hard to take Twitter serious sometimes, but you hear discussions where someone says, yeah, I got drunk and I had sex with this guy, but when in hindsight, I kind of wish I didn't do that. And
it's the hindsight part that gets me. And I think that's a lot of it right there. It's not like, like I was walking down an alley and some dude fucking jumped me. It's more like, here I am. I got shit-faced. I probably shouldn't have got shit-faced. And I wasn't like in control of my emotions. I wasn't in control of my shit. And it's degenerate to get that fucked up anyways. So like, I said yes when I meant to say no. And then shit happens. And there you go.
And you have to realize that the guy that they're screwing is also probably just as shit-faced too.
I'm shit-faced now, so there you go.
Do you feel like jumping someone though?
I feel like raping my couch right now. I'm gonna fuck the shit out of it. Yeah. All right, so it looks like time flies. I guess we'll leave off on me fucking a couch, which is great. I mean, is there anything else that you want to talk about?
No, that should do it.
Okay, well, that sounds good. So anyways, if you found this hilarious, fucked up, or if you like our politics, Feel free to join us on Minds, which is at minds.com/Kekistan Brothers. You can also help support us by signing up at Patreon, which is Patreon Kekistan Brothers. With your support, it will allow us to dedicate more time in creating podcasts and video content. So with the pledge, we have pledges starting at $1 a month. That's like less than a fucking soda at a vending machine. So stay fucking woke, people.